All right, moving on to weeks, I don't know, 8 through whatever. We'll see. I'm trying to break it down into about 5-minute increments. If I can remember what my thought processes are, it would help. So after that first appointment at 8 weeks, when they said one healthy baby, everything looked fine, went home and just kept trucking along, still really sick, still having to use the Unisom. I did get these Prego Pops, B6. Those were pretty good until I ate too many of them. And then they made me super nauseous, so I had to stop those. Ginger was not helpful. Everyone kept saying, "Oh, let me get you something with ginger in it," and that made me feel a million times worse. Um, so I tried all the remedies that I could think of for nausea, and as the weeks progressed, I got more sick to the point where I was just still I was sick all day, even with the medicines, and it was not an easy early pregnancy. At 12 weeks, the midwife, I had an appointment with my midwife. I do love midwives. I love their care practice. I love the hands-on approach. And so I went into my checkup with her at 12 weeks, and she had recommended I do an NT scan just because of my age, being 36. They thought it would be a good idea. So I went in to see her first. It was the day before. And she did the Doppler check, and she was like, "Well, this baby's all over the place. Here's its heartbeat," but then it was wiggling, and then she found it over here, and so it was like, no big deal there. The next day, at the NT scan, my husband was still allowed to come with me. This was before we really had locked down to the point where only one person was allowed to go to appointments. And I was like, "Well, you don't have to. It's our third kid. You know the routine, but if you want to, you can come." So he came along, and the ultrasound tech put the wand on my tummy, and boom, side by side, perfect. Two little babies. They were so just adorable, and obviously two. And this is like early April. And I thought, what a weird trick for maternal fetal medicine that they are playing an April Fool's prank on me, making me think there are two babies. That was my first thought. And so my husband and I just both looked at each other with this face, and the ultrasound tech was like looking at the paperwork, and she was like, "Did you know there was two babies?" And I don't think either of us talked. We just both were like, shook our heads no. And she was like, "Do you want me to leave so you guys can talk about this?" And I was like, "No, you got a job to do, and now it's double. I hate to put you way behind. Just, we'll process while you do your thing." So she's scanning. We found out they had two placentas and two separate sacs, so they were considered di twins. They looked good. They were like, "That's the best kind if you're gonna have twins. It's the easiest, lowest risk option." So at 12 weeks, we were just both like flabbergasted because we had been planning for one, and all of a sudden there's two. We lived in this super tiny, like 900 square foot house. It was adorable, super quaint, barely fit our family, and we're like, how do we fit two children? Like, we'd already been like trying to figure out how to fit one more baby. Like, where do we put the other one? We don't have room for this. So we started really like kind of stressing out about all that stuff. But I will say that at that point, knowing, oh, this is why I've been horribly ill and felt pretty terrible, it made it a little bit more, I don't know, exciting. I was like, oh, this is fun. Two babies, wow. So I was also thankful I didn't find out sooner, because I'm a super neurotic worrier with pregnancy. And so I was like, had I known early on, I think I would have constantly, everything would have made me paranoid that something was wrong. So finding out at that 12-week mark, when things start to be a little bit less stressful, that was actually good for me, I think, mentally. So yeah, that was when we found out that it was twins, was at 12 weeks, which is not super late, but having only seen the one at the 8-week, it definitely felt like we were finding out late in the game that there was two. And when we texted people, because it was like the beginning of April, they all thought we were playing an April Fool's prank on them. And they were like, what? It was funny. We only told a few people too. Like, we told just our family and a few close friends, because we hadn't even told anyone we were really expecting yet. So the few people that already knew were like, oh, surprise, there's two. So that was cool. So that was the finishing up of the first trimester, around 8 weeks to 12 weeks, and just kept taking the Unisom, kept trying to do vitamins and eating high protein just to keep the nausea down. So there was that phase.